Kent, this clip is Richard Dawkins. It's been thrown around quite a bit. It's got millions of views, but it's only a couple minutes, so I feel like it's worth engaging. And so Richard Dawkins here is asked for the best evidence for evolution or one fact to refute creationism. Don't you love how they like to call it creationism, but then call their position evolution? No, it's evolutionism. Let's make that clear. So, okay. And Sam, let me know the audio's coming in. I can't remember if I clicked audio. So here we go. I'm going to press play and we'll make sure the audio is coming in.
Forward TV, the world is thinking.
Do you think there could be one sentence that could convince, let's say, a creationist to seriously doubt their theory? Ideally, if you could convince a believer in God to really doubt their belief, but that's too hard.
Not sure about a sentence. I think perhaps the single most convincing fact, the observation that you could point to, would be the pattern of resemblances that you see when you compare the genes using modern DNA techniques, actually looking at the letter-to-letter correspondences between genes. Compare the genes of any pair of animals you like, pair of animals, pair of plants, and then plot out the resemblances, and they fall in a perfect hierarchy, a perfect family tree. And the only alternative to it being a family tree is that the intelligent designer deliberately set out to deceive us in the most underhand and devious manner.
Let's stop it there for now, Kent. Let's go one point at a time. I'll reiterate. So basically, the homologous patterns or the similarities that we see in the biological world, specifically at a DNA level, and how they form a nested hierarchy. What he means by that is when we compare the DNA of, let's say, humans, chimps, a lemur, a dog, and a bacteria, the human shares more with the chimp than it does with the dog and the bacteria. So there's this kind of natural nested hierarchy in the biological world. So according to him, the alternative, the creation position, would basically have to argue that God is deceiving, trying to make it look like it's evolution, but it really ain't. So Kent, I'd love to get your response on that, brother.
Well, I think the design of every single thing we see, whether it be a hamster or a whale or a pigeon, is incredible, way beyond anything man has ever made. All the scientists in the world could not get together and make a mouse. They couldn't get together and make a single cell from a mouse. So the fact that there are similarities in the DNA only indicates the same guy wrote the code. I've said many times, there are similarities. How many lines of code are there? Did you Google that, Joseph? How many lines of code for Microsoft Word? 30 million. I don't know what it is. Let's say it's 30 million. Microsoft Word is a program that has 30 million lines of code, okay? How many lines of code for Microsoft PowerPoint? Probably millions of identical lines of code. I bet when I go to spell check in Word, it takes me to the same spell checker that it does when I go from PowerPoint to the spell check. That's proof the same guys are writing the code. That's not proof that we're evolving from each other. I think God designed all the plants and animals in the world so that it'd be one symbiotic relationship where the brown cow can eat the green grass and give the white milk, and I can drink it and get the blonde hair. Of course, there are similarities that would have to be. If there weren't similarities, we could only eat each other. It's a neat, amazing, stunningly amazing network of life that God made. And the similarities that we see in these codes are proof of a designer, not proof of evolution. Doesn't prove they're related. I frequently pointed out that Ford and Chevy both put round tires on their trucks. I've seen them. Is that proof they're related? What did you get there, brother? 2013, Microsoft Office had 45 million lines, okay? And that includes all those, PowerPoint and all of them, right? So when you click on a different program, Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or something, it's probably going to have lots of identical lines of code. I think that the lines of code to make a robot close their fingers. How many lines of code are there to make that robot grip something? Thousands. humans have lines of code to tell your flexor muscles to contract and to grip and to pick up something like a coffee cup. Okay. Monkeys have to do the same thing, grip things with their hand. So they probably have similar lines of code. That's not proof they're related. That's proof they need that to pick up something. That's proof of amazing design. But they refuse to admit there's a designer. Richard's not very far from meeting that designer. Sadly, 80 years old, whatever he is, hope he gets saved before that. He said, if you claims not to believe in evolution, you're ignorant, stupid, or wicked, insane, or wicked. Richard, call me anytime. I'll debate you every day of the week from now till you die.
And eternity is a long time. Abraham Lincoln died how long ago? Over 100 years ago?
1865. Yeah.
Still dead today. It's just getting started.
Yeah.
So we got to think about eternity. Kent, Richard Dawkins' follow-up would be, okay, well, why did God create humans more similar then to a chimpanzee or a gorilla than he did to a dog or a fish? How come if humans are a special creation, how come they're just not equally distant in DNA from all your life forms here on the planet?
Well, that's only looking at the physical. Man is way more than just a physical body. We have a body, soul, and spirit. Chimpanzees don't have that. See, plants apparently only have a body. They're alive by our definition, but they're not aware that they're alive as far as we know. Animals are alive and are aware that they're alive. There's something different about animals and plants. Why do we classify them? Two different kingdoms, okay? Then there's man. Man is not only alive, he's aware that he's alive, he has a consciousness of life, and he has a consciousness of God. I don't think any animals have that. They don't bow their head and pray before they eat. So there's something different about man. So if he's looking at the physical part, we have physical things that are similar, some kind of similar muscles and bones, etc. That's not a proof of relationship. We are in a totally different class. Actually, man should be in a totally different kingdom than the plants and animals, because we have a body, soul, and spirit. See, you can not only think about things, you can think about what you're thinking about and pass judgment on your thoughts. Do the apes ever think, wow, that was a bad thought, I shouldn't have thought about that? No, not that we know of. So we're very distinct. We have some similar body parts to the apes because they've got to do the same thing they do. Walk around, pick things up, move, eat, So it's a great design. Just like Ford and Chevy put round tires on their cars. They work a lot better than the square ones.
I like that you pointed that out, Kat. They want to just look at the physical. Here we are doing a live show streaming to the entire planet over our lab. I mean, I'm not sure how that sophisticated technology works. We're building cars, building houses, designing the space shuttle. So there are massive differences between humans and chimpanzees that aren't necessarily physical. Sam, any thoughts, brother? Homologous patterns. Is that convincing to you?
Well, I mean, I think when he says that because he doesn't know why God would do something, therefore God is devious, I think he claims to know too much. I mean, is Apple devious because my computer has a screen and shares similar lines of code, but it's not the same as a phone, their iPhone or their watch or their earbuds? And it kind of really makes me wonder. I feel like you have critics that join your channel that have far better arguments than that. And so how withdrawn is he when he makes a statement like that, knowing that, well, yeah, if we had a designer, then of course that designer would design its creatures with morphological and genetic similarity.
Yeah. The second God created animals with RNA, DNA, proteins, similar morphology, anatomy, of course there's going to be some similarity. You pick any creature, right? That creature is going to be more similar to one creature than another one. Just stand afar. Humans look a little more like a chimp than they do a dog. And you mentioned modes of transportation, Kent. I just put this together last night. And so, okay, we line up a sedan, an SUV, a truck, and a boat. Okay, so naturally, we have a nested hierarchy in the design world. We have sedans. They look more like an SUV than they do a boat. And the car and the SUV look more like each other than they do, a skateboard. We could put a skateboard in there, or a bicycle. So just naturally designed objects fall into hierarchies. I would say it's reflective of design. and not common descent.
Well, and the whole idea of nesting things together or classifying things, this is all man's idea.
Right.
The animals do not care how we classify them. They don't even know we are classifying them. Okay. They don't care at all. We turn on our North 40 here at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. We turn on the North 40. Let's say we have donkeys up there. We have cows. We have sheep, squirrels, raccoons, armadillos. They don't even think about mate. They know what their own kind is. They know which ones to mate with. And keep in mind, they don't even know what they look like. But they know what to look for in a mate. But the squirrels don't even consider trying to mate with the cows. They just look for another squirrel. And they know that. So this whole idea of classifying them, this is man putting our attempts to organize things on the animals. The animals absolutely don't care. I think when you try to organize your tools in the garage, have the shovels in one place and the hammers in some place, we try to keep ours organized. Good luck on that one. But I think that's normal. You keep all the vitamins in one spot in your house, or medicine in one spot, or you keep the wash rags and the towels. Man just likes to classify things. This should go with the towels and the cleaning supplies. The laundry soap does not care where you put it. Okay. And so I don't think the animals care. This whole classification system that Carolus Linnaeus made and others have tweaked over the years of kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, it's all man-made, and it's wonderful. I think we should use it, but it does not prove any relationship. Just because we decided to put the 8 different kinds of squirrels together, the Kaibab squirrel, the Abert squirrel, etc., they put all the squirrels in the same category, call it squirrel. Okay. They don't care. The animals don't care. They don't even know we did it. But that's handy for us to keep track. There's 8 different kinds of squirrels. And they might have had a common ancestor called a squirrel. I think there are now 13 different types of otters. They might have had a common ancestor called an otter. I wouldn't argue with that. But the textbooks make these charts and say the otter is related to the sunflower and the alligator and the butterfly and the wasp. This is not science. This is propaganda. It is stupid. Tell all of them I said so. This is stupid. This is not science.
And change our minds. Change our mind. So that StreamYard link is there pinned. I see a good amount of people backstage, and the majority of you have done what I asked for. So I appreciate that. For those who haven't, please, in the private chat, let me know who you are, what your position is. If you can, go on webcam, even just quickly backstage, give me a wave, make sure I know. That'll help me know that you're real and not a troll. For those that I already know, you don't have to do that. So, okay, let's finish this clip, and then we will be ready to start bringing people in. So Richard Dawkins, this is their apostle of their sci-fi religion. This is the best he's got. It's kind of sad. Okay, here we go, gentlemen.
Moreover, the same thing works with every gene you do separately, and even pseudogenes that don't do anything but are vestigial relics of genes that once did something. I find it extremely hard to imagine how any creationist who actually bothered to listen to that could possibly doubt the fact of evolution, but they don't.
Okay, so we'll stop it there. I'll reiterate. How could we ever doubt the idea that we're related to whales and banana plants based on the argument from pseudogenes? So pseudogenes, they basically argue, okay, we have broken genes that we share with the chimp, or that we share with a dog, or name your animal. And so we must have inherited that genetic mistake, that broken or false gene, from a common ancestor. And so Kent, he's basically saying that shared genetic mistakes demonstrate common descent. What's a good response, brother?
I don't think any man in the world, or any human being in the world, is smart enough to know that there actually are pseudogenes. Are you sure we don't know what they do? I mean, 100 years ago, they had 180 vestigial organs. They said, oh, you don't need your appendix, you don't need your tonsils, you don't need your adenoids. 180 of them. They just didn't know the use of them. Tell you what, get a 10-year-old, open the hood of your car. Hey, kid, look under here, take out anything this car does not need. He thinks all you need for the car is the key and the gas pedal. He doesn't even know what the engine. We don't need that. Take that out. It's a matter of stupidity. They don't know. So first of all, I would argue, I don't think we can prove there are pseudogenes. Okay. If indeed there are, they do have to prove that we have a broken gene for something, and monkeys have a broken gene for something. Okay. Could that be that all of the animals in the world went through the same trauma like Noah's flood, and something got broken, something changed? Maybe before the flood, the world was different, greater oxygen concentration. And now some have had to learn to live with less oxygen. I think there's plenty of evidence the Earth used to have 35% oxygen instead of 21. We cover all that in my seminar part 2. So could it be they went through the same trauma? And yes, the gene may be broken. I don't think we could prove there are any, but if it turns out that there are, still does not prove evolution. They went through the same trauma.
Kent, when it comes to the vestigial structures, they used to be classified as remnants, evolutionary leftovers. But recently they've been reclassified, and now they describe them as something that is in a state of change. But how would that differentiate from every other organ in the body that from their model is always in a state of change? Doesn't that make the term vestigial structure unintelligible?
Right. What does that mean? Vestigial. There's a vestiges. You don't need it anymore. I tell people, if you think the tailbone is vestigial, I will pay to have yours taken out. Matter of fact, I'll do it myself. I got a Swiss Army knife. I taught anatomy. Come on, bend over. I know right where it's at. I'll take it out for you. Okay.
And where can they find you if they need that surgery done?
right here behind my desk. I'm in Lenox, Alabama. Good luck finding that. Our mailing address is Repton, straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles, Dinosaur Adventure Land. Come on down. We'll give you the tour.
We can do the surgery live on air here on Standing for Truth. So
without anesthetic.
Right, exactly.
I will even sharpen my Swiss Army knife just for the occasion.
There you go.
Very sweet. It's very sweet and generous of you, brother.
Free.
So I think you nailed it. You know, Dave and I've done full presentations on the topic of pseudogenes and junk DNA. And Kent, again, I think you hit the nail on the head that a lot of these so-called pseudogenes, broken genes, there's dozens of papers showing that they're not broken, they're functional, highly functional and necessary to sustain healthy life processes. But we're still in the infancy of understanding the DNA language. Like you said, put a kid under the hood of a car, tell him to remove anything that's not beneficial or functional. He's going to start removing everything because he doesn't understand the sophisticated nature of the car, and we don't fully understand the sophisticated nature of the genome. So, okay, we got one more section to play with Richard Dawkins here. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, if that was a formal debate and he made that comment, that would just be the fallacy of an argument from ignorance. You can't come to a conclusion based on a lack of knowledge. So saying that you don't know why God would do something, that's not an argument. Nothing follows from that. No conclusion follows from that.
I wanted to put this up, Kent. So we got questions from the audience too. So Shepherd's Ambassador, appreciate the question. He says, how come the universe and everything on Earth appear old or look old? I want to quickly say, I think that's fallacious, because how does the universe or the Earth look old? We only have one Earth. We only have one universe. So that appears to me to be fallacious. It's not like we have another universe that we compare this one to and say, oh, see, this one looks old because that one's young. No, we've only got one universe and one Earth, and I can equally say, no, it looks young. Kent, what's a good response?
Well, first of all, this whole line of thought and argument is only to preserve the vital ingredient that they need, called time. If you ask them, how can an amoeba possibly turn into an octopus? Their answer will be, given enough time. And if you take away time from the evolutionist, this is the pulling out the pacifier. They have to have billions of years or their theory goes crazy. Okay. So I think, first of all, it's easy to prove this universe is not billions of years old. It's easy to demonstrate. But even if it were, that still does not make evolution any more true. That's just the first of many vital ingredients they have to make it scientific. It's not scientific. It's a religious belief. Time isn't going to help. Now, people say 6,000. You a young Earth creationist? No. You kidding? 6,000 is a long time. Can you imagine Columbus 500 years ago? Came over here, got out of the boat, and the Indians met him in their front yard. Can we help you, sir? Or whatever happened back then. Okay. So that's 500. That's a long time ago. What's happened in the last 500 years? A whole bunch of stuff. How about, 1,000 years ago when the Vikings are going around beating everybody up? That's a long time. And you want a 6,000? The brain, that's hard to comprehend.
Right.
They use these big numbers like billions of years because they know the human brain can't absorb that kind of stuff. It gets lost. That's why Congress spends money like that in the billions, because people think, oh, it's no different than my checkbook. You know, your Canadian government do the same thing, brother. Spend money they don't have and send the bill to the grandkids.
They do. Just keep spending, and apparently you'll get rich one day. That's the evolutionist thinking. So you made that point in your debate with Fuzz Rana recently from Reasons to Believe. Our next open mic, I've got some clips from there, but we won't have time tonight for that. So our next show together, I'd like to play some clips. And so he pointed, I thought he had a great response. He pointed to a bunch of Bible verses that said, oh, the earth is ancient. It's from old. And saying, okay, well, then maybe it's millions to billions of years old. But you had, I wonder if you could reiterate it. You had a great response. And I thought it was the obvious response too, that, okay, Rome, we call Rome, ancient Greece. That wasn't billions of years ago, was it, Cap?
No. Ancient civilizations go back 3,000 years. That's ancient. It really is.
Yeah.
I cover a video number 1 of my series. I cover all kinds of ways to show the earth is not billions of years old. You know, the oldest example we have of capital punishment, the oldest example we have of language, the population of the world, of the earth, you know, it could easily reach this, the salt in the oceans, the spin of the earth. I go through a bunch of those. But see, the burden of proof's not on me. The Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and nothing died until Adam sinned. And when you look at the dates that are given in the Bible, Genesis chapter 5, it tells us very clearly how old Adam was when his son was born. Adam was 130 when his son was born. You can add up the numbers. In Genesis 5 and Genesis 11 picks up after the flood. And then we have historical documents going back to Joseph's time in Egypt. So the Bible clearly does teach about 6,000 for the whole world. But that wouldn't matter. Even if it's billions, that doesn't help evolution. That's only the first of billions of obstacles they have to step over.
More time means more deleterious mutation accumulation, means more extinction, more degeneration, more entropy. So they can have all the time in the world, brother. It ain't going to help them take their bacteria to biologists.
Second law of thermodynamics really picks up then.
Oh, yeah. Amen.